Hello, Ender Sword here again, this time with a Gold League game. This is going to be featuring our Protoss player Ryan down here on the bottom right-hand side of the map. And his opponent is going to be Inu, our Terran player up here on the top left-hand side. We will be focusing on our hero Protoss, Ryan, who appeared to have some trouble in this match, not to ruin the ending, but that obviously is the ending. The top three things that I'm going to look at during this game are, number one, the idea that not all damage is death. So basically, just because nothing died, just because a lot of buildings or units or whatever didn't die, doesn't mean that you didn't inflict or did not take damage. Damage can come in other forms, and we're going to see that fairly early on in the game, what I mean there. Second thing is that reinforcements win games. Your initial army can often win the battle, but when it comes to actually knocking your opponent out and winning the game, then it's usually reinforcements that actually do that. After an initial engagement, particularly if you're in their territory, they can reinforce, and if you don't have yourself set up to do that, then you're going to eventually get beaten back unless you just had a really overwhelming force. That's what keeps things going. A weird pylon instead of gateway there. Little mistake, but not too big a deal. The third thing to look at is the idea that you just shouldn't feed a Terran. There are times when a lot of players struggle with the idea of not being able to finish a Terran off. That they have them beat, they have them essentially pushed back to their natural or their main, and they can't really make an aggressive action against them. There's a lot of turrets, bunkers, tanks, something like that going on. At those times, you have to learn to essentially sit back, macro yourself up, get yourself teched up, get yourself in a situation where the Terran can never move out into you, but you're containing them completely. The idea being that you eventually starve the Terran to death, that you cause them to mine themselves out and hit a point where they have to move out and try and take another base, and they ultimately can't do that because you're in a much superior position. But if you just attacked into the position that they've meticulously set up, then maybe it's not going to work out for you. So in those cases, you have to stall them out, starve them out of the position they're in, and force them into a mistake as opposed to you going in and making that mistake. So into the game itself, we've got fairly normal type opening for Heart of the Swarm here, going for the double gas, fully mining from that. You often see the two on the assimilators nowadays as a good way to get a little extra gas, but the more important part is the Reaper coming in. The Stalker, which a lot of people do now, skip the first Zealot to get the Stalker out quicker, but he's going to be out in time to deal with this Reaper, who does ultimately get the one kill there on a probe that was just kind of going around placing pylons in other buildings and being an overall good worker, but really doesn't get a lot done with that. There's enough units out to defend that. The Zealot was able to delay him long enough. A second one does come in here, fortunately sneaks right by the Zealot, and see if he ends up getting any kills here. Tries to get a surround on him with probes. No kills on that Reaper yet so far. This other guy now regens his health, comes back. So we've got, between the two Reapers, one kill so far, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do a whole ton with this. I don't think a lot of units are going to die, anything of that nature, but this is where I'm talking about damage being done versus actual kills being achieved. There's only been the one kill. There's only the one loss of the probe, but because this harassment has been going on, and because a lot of resources have been devoted, and I don't mean resources as in-game resources, but a lot of attention has been devoted to going around and chasing those things, now look at how much money is accumulated. We've got 700 minerals now accumulating there for our Protoss player, and tons of gas, and he's now just trying to get things out and compensate for that. The robo facility was really late. These weren't even turned into warp gates. There's no expansion going down. He's now in a situation where he's going to be supply blocked for a little bit until these are done. Everything was just pushed back by a whole lot. There should be a lot more out on the field by now. There should be an expansion down. There should be more attack. There should maybe be a forge out there, something like that to put him ahead. But these Reapers that didn't actually get anything more than that one kill have caused a lot of damage. And as they do move in here to distract again, this little warp in is again going to cause these 3 stalkers to be warped in at home, as opposed to going up and attacking with the rest of the army, which comes and sees that there's a relatively undefended Terran natural. There's no defense on that at all. He was just relying on the Reapers to try and keep the Protoss in his base. So as he comes into here, nothing is around to stop this. If there was a forward pylon or anything with this army at this point, then what would be able to hold him back? He's just picking things off, able to get these units as they come out. But unfortunately, these 3 stalkers didn't even come forward. That would have helped a lot. There's no probe coming forward for the to put down any sort of pylon. None came with the army itself. The Terran player even being supply blocked right now. The Protoss should win this game. Absolutely should win this game. Even with the SCV complete surround there on the stalkers, there should be more coming in. There should be more warping in the into the area. These can't build. Nothing's going on. There's not even a supply depot in production until just now. It's going to be a long time before additional things can come out here. All you have to do is deal with this really small composition of units. If there was a single pylon there that these guys were actually up front, particularly with this mothership core on the way, he would have just been able to absolutely overrun that. You could have just warped in a few zealots, and this is the type of game that he should be winning. So when you're looking at your own replays there at home, look for situations like this where you had the material, you had the money, you had everything you needed to win the game, and you absolutely dropped the game. This is just a lost game. It's a completely unforced error. He had the game won and just didn't accomplish that because the pylons were not there. Even if they were back a bit, like here, as opposed to being like right in front, it still would have been enough. He had tons of time to go in and follow up with that. But now we're in a situation where, you know, that's going to get a little hard to go up into. He wants to retake this natural, but Terran's not going to be able to move down against this type of force. So we get the pick off on the tank there. But I also don't really want to be running up this ramp. Really cute move to time warp that. I like that. But we still don't want to be coming up this ramp, really clumping up like that. Don't want to be running through a whole bunch of things to go after the single tank. And ultimately, again, no reinforcements are actually coming to help this. If a whole wave of zealots had come in with that army, then now we're not getting this weird SCV surround on Immortals. Instead, those would all be picked off by zealots just swiping away at SCVs. Again, chasing him off with the stalkers. But again, we're not warping in. Nothing's reinforcing this position, so the Terran is ultimately not all that worse for wear. The economy not really pumping at home for our Protoss player finally getting this base online, but the Terran forces, now that he's actually kind of tossed away that really heavy-duty army, is actually going to be able to come out and take out these proxy pylons. The command center, which is burning in space there, will probably be able to come in and land in this position, and that's definitely not what we wanted to do. If he was able to just keep these low, take the occasional poke up, try and kill out the supply depots in front, or just be annoying and keep the pressure on, but ultimately your goal was to contain the Terran player and not let him move down, then this orbital command, honestly, I believe it would have just burned, because I think he still even now doesn't realize that it is that that it is actually burning as he transfers guys down, but he never would have been able to take this expansion, and he eventually would have mined himself out. And we're getting really close there. 50 hit points down to 40. When is he going to realize this is the case? And yeah, they're finally into the 20s, realizes that his command center was going to burn down completely, and does catch that at last minute. Scan going down on the observer, which was monitoring the army. This won't be true at super high levels, but I can tell you at like fairly low to even medium-ish type levels, when you see a scan on an observer after you've had it there for a while, odds are he scanned it because he wants to move. They were usually aware of it for some time. They were either not aware of it at all, or they were aware of it for some time. And so if he does scan to see that it's there, then it's indicating he wants to move out, especially when you get a subsequent scan at the front of your ramp. It obviously means that he's there. He's in range. So you kind of want to move that back. Here we get a bad engagement by the Protoss player. There's a lot of tanks here that he's aware of. You don't want to be attacking into that. Why would you attack into this position? Nothing's down there. Everything you have is way back here, so why would you go forward and attack there? Make him come, try and catch the position where the tanks are unsieging or something like that. If just one of them was unsieged, then he probably could have gone with that type of force, could have gotten an extra warp in there. Again, similar situation. There's not a lot of, some reinforcements are coming across the map, but he wasn't building additional things out of this. So the force that he had, that's the force he was going to bring. So that's really all he had available to him was these guys. So if he could have just stalled them out there, again, it would have been hard for the Terran player to actually attack. But if there's one thing that I can impress upon people as the #1 lesson in this game, it's that your is yours, you are is your. Thanks for watching.